The Berserker actually has a lot of ways to get more sustained damage through burning and things like that, whereas I think the Reaper is more about like the lead up to those large hits.
All right, well, you want to jump in and take a look? You guys probably want to see this. You want to start with the torch skills?
Yes, let's start with the torch.
Torch is the new weapon.
So torch is the new weapon. This is your skill 4. It's called Blaze Breaker. For this skill, we wanted it to be a little more like just like a weapon. You know, we feel like the magical classes like Guardian and Mesmer like have their own kind of magical way of using torches, but with the Warrior, we just wanted them to like just hit stuff with it. And so he just hits the ground, and it creates this really cool cascade of attacks. And each of those rocks that pop out of the ground inflict cripple, and they inflict burning. And not too much to say about this one. It's just a very straightforward attack. It's very straightforward. Just we want to just have a very physical, just hit stuff attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Have you already crafted a build around this now in the last 30 seconds?
Oh yeah. Like the thing I like about this skill is one, it's 5 times. Right, so if you hit big targets, you hit people that are running away from you. Not only will you get the cripple, but you'll also get the multiple stacks of burning. It's really good. I think the thing I like about it is how fast it runs, how fast it goes. Because a lot of times you see like on certain 4 or 5 skills, they're a little bit more longer cooldown as well as kind of slow. But this is quick. It's like da 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 da, and it's you get a bunch of cripple, you get a bunch of burning on there. It's good. It's good.
I feel like the golem's just standing there like, what did I ever do to you, man? You set me on fire 95 times.
And again, because it hits so many times, you proc, PvP in PvE sigils, all those things can proc off this guy, so it's good.
And each of the rocks, I believe, can hit up to 3 targets. So you're getting up to you can in theory hit up to 15 targets, but that's probably gonna be a little less likely.
Yeah.
So this next skill is called Flames of War, and what it does is it sets you on fire. It doesn't actually put burning on you. It actually removes conditions because the fire kind of burns away the conditions. And it'd be kind of silly if we set you on fire for that.
It sets your character on fire, not the enemy.
Yeah. Well, no, it sets them on fire too. It also sets enemies around you on fire, and it turns you into, as you can see, a mobile fire field. So the way it works is that every second enemies around you get set on fire, and at the very end of the skill, it kind of explodes and gets a smaller burst of burning. You get a couple extra stacks off of this. And it's really fun, actually, with a lot of the different main hands. And you can also swap weapons. I think this is a question that I read on one of our forums or on Reddit. Like, they asked if you could switch weapons, and the flame field persists. And it absolutely persists. So you can activate the fire field, switch to, like, greatsword, and spin through a bunch of guys. I'm not sure if I do that in the video, but it's really fun. You can, like, get a lot of... Warriors really good at finishers and things like that. So they can proc, like, I think 2 or 3 different finishers, probably, within the time that this thing lasts.
Nice.
Again, really, the torch is really focused around the burning condition.
Yeah, and this is, by the way, this is an offhand. I saw somebody ask, is this an offhand or a main hand? So it is your offhand.
Yes, it is an offhand.
Yeah. All right, so you've got your mobile fire field, which means you can bring that up and then dive in there.
Yeah. Like, it works really well with, like, Sword 2.
Oh, yeah.
I really like it with Sword 2, because you get that lead finisher. Then you have the Fire Aura, so if anyone attacks you, then they also get set on fire. And the fire is burning them on top of that. So you can stack a lot of fire really quickly if you play your cards right on that. I mean, you can switch to, like, your rifle and then just start shooting through it to get the burning bolts, too, which is great. I like it with axe, because you can you have the whirl finisher on 2, and then on the 3 you can throw the burning axe, which is really fun.
And then the leap finisher on eviscerate.
Oh yeah, leap finisher. Also.
So you got to pretty much access every single one.
Yeah, you got a ton of them.
You are very rapidly turning me to, like, oh, I love my warrior.
Oh man, I'm super excited. Like, the big thing I do with this, right, because it's a mobile fire field on top of you. You even need to switch to, like, hammer, right? Jump through it, blast finisher, you're burning everybody around you, whirl to knockdown, immediately into backbreaker. The whole time they're stuck in it, right? And then you can immediately switch back, drop as soon as they try to run, hit them with the fire 4 skill. You can put sword, you can do axe, you can do whatever you want with that and that to keep the pressure on. It's great. It's good. It's great because you can just pop it and leave right into the next weapon set, and it's great. It just works really well.
Ow.
It's good.
Ow, seriously.
It's good.
Okay, so how about utility skills?
Let's
take a look at those.
Utility skills next. So this is your heal. It's called Blood Reckoning. This is a damage-based heal in that it converts all of your outgoing damage into healing. You get a 30% of your outgoing damage is converted to healing normally, and if you crit, it converts 50%.
Jeez.
So if you actually deal a lot of damage, like this is supposed to try and keep you in there, just dealing as much damage as possible. You can actually heal for quite a bit. I think in this particular example, I'm not healing for too much, but I don't remember if I was spec'd really well for DPS when we were recording this. But it also converts condition damage too.
That's huge.
It's a little better for burst because it has a fairly short durations. You also gain. I should also explain. So all of the utility skills are this new type called a rage skill. Rage skills generate your profession resource, which in this case is adrenaline. That'll factor into how the Berserk mode works a little later, but this also basically gives you an extra adrenaline whenever you critical hit. So this really focuses around, this heal in particular really focuses around like getting critical hits.
And you also get more healing when you're in Berserk mode, right?
Well, you're going to get more healing just because you're going to be attacking
speed and
faster.
stuff like that. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah. It's much more. You really do want to be in Berserk mode when you actually just
Gotcha.
Because not only that, you also get your burst, your primal burst, which we'll talk about in a minute. But the fact that you can get those, and those tend to hit a lot of targets too, so you can get a lot of damage out of that. All right, so this next one, this is the one we talked about on Zam. This is Wild Blow. It lets you basically just knock back a guy, but if you knock back a guy and he hits another guy, he will knock the other guys back in turn.
This
I like
is
the moose. The moose.
There's
The moose example was my favorite.
This is like accidentally becoming a POI thing, is just beating the crap out of moose.
Yeah, this one's pretty fun. It's named after the Guild Wars 1 skill, Wild Blow. The Guild Wars 1 skill, Wild Blow, was unblockable and always critical hits. I was going to do that originally on this one, but they told me I shouldn't make it unblockable on top of that. But it does have a 100% crit rate on the first hit. That first hit there will always crit.
Yeah, seriously, unblockable on top of that might be a little much.
Yeah, but they told me to tone that down a little bit.
Jeez, Robert.
But yeah, so it will basically knock back your primary target, and then any target that your primary target collides with will also get knocked back. Total number of targets is 5, so it'll hit up to 4 additional targets after the first guy's hit.
I saw you mentioned it in the ZAM article. This cannot be the player projectile cannot be a finisher.
We don't have a good way of making the player count as a projectile. Especially, I don't know what happened if you got because there are some skills in our game that destroy projectiles. Would that just instantly kill you if you got knocked back into that?
Reflects the projectile, they reflect it back at you.
I'm going to need you to get on this and find that out.
Would the player
character
just
just
ask our
explode?
programmers for that one. This is more of a programmer thing.
That's funny.
Do you have to re-roll?
Yeah,
Those are questions I need answered.
I don't know what happened in that situation. I mean, certainly, I think it'd be really cool if we could count you as a projectile finisher.
Unfortunately,
we don't have the tech right now for that.
Okay.
So this next one is called Shattering Blow, and you summon a rock, this big kind of magma rock in front of you, and then you punch it. You just punch the rock, and the rock explodes and sends its kind of fragments out and hits everyone in front of you. And you can also punch back fireballs, like you can see it in one of these examples here. I have the golem like shoot a fireball at me.
How many targets?
This hits up to 5 targets in your frontal arc. This is the only rage skill that you cannot use while moving. This will actually lock your position, and that's because we have to make it so that you can line up with the rock. Because otherwise, you wouldn't punch the rock. If you activated it and then step back, you wouldn't hit the rock properly. It's got a very short cast time, so we try not to lock you in place for too long. But if you time it right, you can punch back fireballs or punch back projectiles. It's pretty fun.
Punching fireballs is the best concept.
Well, you're punching a rock to begin with. It's just you kind of just
bullets won't phase your fist.
There it is.
Yeah, it takes a little bit of time. The timing takes a little bit to get used to. It took me a few tries to get that one right, but
so. I do like the idea of punching a rock, but you have to admit that punching a fireball is infinitely cooler.
Right. So this next one is called Sundering Leap. You basically just leap to a location, and everyone at the point of origin, at the target point, gets 10 stacks of vulnerability. It's a really good opening attack. It's also actually a leap finisher if you want to combo with that fire field from earlier. Just generally good for initiation. This also gives you, all of these skills give you adrenaline, as we mentioned earlier. Like Wild Blow will give you adrenaline if it hits. The Shattering Blow will give you adrenaline when you punch the rock. This one gives you adrenaline on the leap, so you'll get some free adrenaline, and then when you land, if you hit up to 5 targets, you'll get more adrenaline. So this is really good for building adrenaline. To try and initiate that initial Berserk mode burst. Not too much to say about this one. This one's actually one of the more straightforward ones. It just provides a very good initiation attack. Enemies are vulnerable, so you can do a lot more damage. It works well with the heal skill because they'll take more damage and you'll heal for more. It also puts you just right back into where you need to be. Berserker can work with ranged weapons, of course, but like he definitely does favor trying to be as close as possible. Like the torch skills especially favor you to be as close as possible to try and get maximum effectiveness from your skill. So I like to activate Torch 5 and then jump in afterwards. This next skill is called Outrage. There's not much to say about this one. It's a stun break on a 10-second recharge.
You okay there?
I'm sorry. That's pretty good.
Did you have something to add, Hugh?
No, that's it.
Yeah, it's a stun break on a 10-second. So the thing here is, a lot of stun breaks have other functionality. So like Shake It Off, for example, removes conditions from allies and things like that. This one has basically no other function other than stun breaking. So you're sacrificing a lot by taking it, but you can stun break, every 10 seconds with this thing. The adrenaline gain from this happens based on the number of enemies who are surrounding you. So each enemy that's near you, when you activate this skill, will give you 3 adrenaline. So if you are surrounded by guys, you will get more adrenaline based on how surrounded you are. So this is a really good clutch skill to take, especially going to be in Heart of Thorns, because guys CC you all the time. In Heart of Thorns. I was playing earlier, and it's like, man, I wish I had this skill. I hadn't earned the skill yet.
Is this only for you, or will it help your allies?
It's only for you. It's a bit of a selfish skill, but
a bit.
Just like me.
I'm going to push your chair off the camera.
All right, and so this is the elite. This is Headbutt. It is a short-range dashing attack, and it stuns the enemy for 3 seconds, and it stuns you for 1 second. It's just kind of a fun skill. It's got a pretty low recharge. I think was it 20 seconds? Yeah, it's got a 20-second recharge, so it's a really strong CC on a short recharge, but it does stun you. Works really well with Outrage, actually, because you can actually break the stun from that afterwards. To basically just get back into the fight a little quicker. The main thing with this one is it gives you full adrenaline if it hits.
Oh my gosh!
This is what you take when you really just want to initiate. So what's really fun with this one? You can just jump in, headbutt, and then immediately enter Berserk mode and just go nuts. There's a couple other ways to break the stun. This kind of takes a little bit again from another Guild Wars 1 skill, headbutt, which you're smacking with your head.
I remember that.
I got a request early when we were making this skill, like, hey, can we make this skill do more damage if you have depending on your helmet? And we don't really. Unfortunately, we can't do that. But
that'd be amazing.
That would be great.
Because with the Berserker helmet with those horns, it should really do extra damage.
Yeah, I mean you should impale people.
Yeah, I really wish we could do that. But
that would be fantastic.
That'd be amazing.
So, since we've got Hugh here, let's talk a little bit before we go on. How would you counter that? Because, wow, that's a lot.
So, are you talking about countering that specific skill?
All of them.
Oh, okay.
Particularly the last 3, because I was like, you know what, I'm going to roll a warrior. You guys talk amongst yourselves.
So, one thing I definitely know is I like the headbutt skill because, one, you get the stun for 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a long time. It's a single target, but it's 3 seconds, so you get full adrenaline. But the big thing is that I was actually doing a little playing around with it in defense line. You can run the thing where you break a stun, you get a ton of extra toughness. Because you're stunning yourself and you're able to break it yourself with another skill, you're essentially forcing that trait to proc every time. Mm-hmm. However, you do run into the problem you don't get to use what other Grandmasters are in that line. However, but still, it's pretty interesting.
And we're going to talk about Grandmasters in a minute.
Yes. But one of the things I definitely liked is the Wild Blow. That's the one that knocks everybody back, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's amazing in PvP because right now when you're in PvP and someone's downed, you don't really have a way to displace them, right? You have to either stun the person, but if they put stability on themselves, then you're not going to get the knock away. But Wild Blow is a blowback,
right?
So it will knock the enemy dead body away as well as knock the person who's trying to do it away. As well as it always crits, so you can, if you want, smack the person who's actually doing it or hit them both and get a nice, huge amount of burst damage on that. Because usually what you'd use if you didn't have CC, because sometimes some of the new ones, if you're not running Hammer, you're not running all those things, you'd run Fear Me, which doesn't do any damage. It's just a fear on Unblockable Fear, which is really good, don't get me wrong, on a really long cooldown. But with this, it's a huge crit damage-based displacement as well as, it also CCs after the fact of the people going up there. It's really good. I definitely see, like, if you're looking for that little more damage roll, instead of taking Fear Me, you might take that skill, as well as like the blocking projectiles and utilities that give more Condi damage with the Punch Rock skill. More Condi damage AoE. It's got a fairly large cone.
Yeah.
As well as, like you said, you can reflect projectiles. So in the clutch moment, you might be able to punch a projectile back that you would not want to get hit by. Necro's trying to put all their burning and stuff back on you by throwing the bees at you, smack the bees back at them, and now they don't get to do anything. Things like that are really good.
I don't like a skill that sends bees to me. I have
Those locusts are real.
Yeah, the thing about rage skills, though, is that they do have disadvantages compared to other types of skills. For example, like the heal, you have to actually be dealing damage. Like if they stun you as soon as you activate the heal, you just wasted the heal.
You just stand there and it's blown.
Yeah, you just blow. Like a lot of the skills require you to be within melee range. I mentioned in the ZAM article that like if you need a range skill, you're not going to take one of these. Like you're going to take like throw bowls if you want to stop someone who's running away from you, because none of these skills are really going to stop someone from running away from you. Like headbutt has a fairly short range. It is a gap closer. It does dash forward, but it doesn't have so much range that you're going to catch someone who's too far away from you.
Yep.
All right. Well, you want to look at the F1 skills?
Right, so let's talk about the F1 skill next.
This is what I'm excited about.
The F1 skill...
this is the thing you're excited about.
This is so good.
These are some of the new burst skills. When you activate the F1, you gain new burst skills. This is the sword burst skill. And what it does is it changes your standard sword flurry attack to shoot fireballs.
Come on.
So real quick, do you have access to your old burst skills?
Yeah, you still have access to your old burst skills, but once you activate Berserk,
then you
have the new ones.
Okay, cool.
They flip over as soon as you activate. This one's pretty fun. It will actually this also cuts projectiles out of the air. Like when you're swinging the sword, it'll cut any incoming projectiles out of the air, and it'll shoot a bunch of fireballs. These fireballs pierce. This is really good for getting condition damage off on your sword. You kind of have to choose between this one though and the regular flurry.
Yep.
Because if you want bleeding, you want to use the regular flurry, because this will not inflict bleeding. In fact, it doesn't even attack. Only the fireballs do damage on this one, whereas the other one, like your sword, actually does damage. You also don't get the immobilize.
Yes.
So that's really big, depending on what you want. So
exactly.
You really have to kind of choose which one you want in these situations.
Yep.
Nice.
I still like that one though.
Yeah,
I can see why.
This next one is the Great Sword burst skill. It's called Arcing Seer. It's got a very similar effect to the original Great Sword effect. You spin around, you hit guys around you. But what this one does is it creates kind of this expanding ring of fire. And you can interact with the ring of fire again, similar to how warriors can interact with fire fields. I like to activate this one and spin through it to get some extra burning bolts. You can also throw your Great Sword to get a projectile finisher off of that. It's just basically just a way to control more area.
Yeah.
It has a much wider radius than the standard arcing slice.
It's about the size of a capture point. I'm unhappy.
I think the good thing is it gives another access to a fire field that isn't just longbow.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah, and it's great because it's on a weapon that has already like 2 finishers on it, so
Yes.
you can just activate a lot of you can proc some of your finishers too.
Yes.
It's pretty short lived, but each of those rings applies burning. So if again this is another one of those, like if the guy's trying to run through them,
3.
they'll take burning on each hit. So it's really good for someone trying to run away from you, because like they don't really want to run through like 3 rings of fire.
And then we get to the bow.
Okay, so this is the bow.
Oh
This
my
is
gosh.
Scorched Earth. This one basically just fires a projectile, and there is a trail of fire that goes along with it. This one acts a little differently than the standard one. The arrow itself doesn't really hit, but it's the fire fields that do all the damage. The fire fields last a little shorter, I think, than the max duration of the normal longbow, but they last. But you can cast this one a lot more often. It also covers I think it's 6 radius 120s or something like that. It's got 1,000 range or something like that total.
Oh my gosh.
Or maybe it's just 5. But yeah, it's got 1,000 range straightforward. Covers your own position. You can jump. You can interact with it after firing it. Fire some other things through it. Jump through it. Switch weapons. There's a lot of fun interactions with this one.
Are you
it
so
applies
happy?
a lot of burning too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. This is great. This is great actually, not just for PvP, but also really good in PvE. So I really like that one.
So this is the rifle shot. It's pretty similar to the old one. It doesn't just do damage though. It also dazes. And whenever it hits a target, it explodes. So if you're running the piercing trait, which I am here, you can get a lot of hits. We may need to tone down the number of targets in a later iteration.
We may.
It also inflicts burning, which is kind of fun. Just get a little extra condition damage. A lot of these attacks inflict extra.
I mean, like stuff that wasn't even on that map was on fire.
That's true. It's true. I love that all of the burst skills are like AOE, more AOE, which is cool because a lot of the burst skills were very single target. There was a few that were really big AOEs like Earthshaker, Longbow, and stuff like that. But this is cool. I love the explosion. It's freaking awesome.
It looks amazing.
This does less damage than Killshot though, so you're not gonna like just be executing one guy. But this is much better. It's a much better skill, especially when you're running the Rifle Pierces trait if you're fighting a lot of different guys.
World World, here I come.
It's also an interrupt. Like I said, it does daze on hit. Very brief. It's not a long daze, but this
an interrupt is always good, even if it's small.
So this is the Mace burst skill. This is called Skull Grinder. It's similar to Skullcracker in that it interrupts. It doesn't do the same type of interrupt, but it applies like a lot of things. It's weakness, cripple, blind, confusion, and dazes.
Can I say that the name makes me cringe?
I love how the name. It also has, it has a different animation. It also blast finishes when you hit the ground there. You can see me doing it in one of these clips. I activate it's great when you activate the fire field. Then you jump and blast finish your own fire field. It's pretty fun in that regard. This one is one of the single target ones though. This is still similar to Skullcracker in that it only hits the one target. But it just puts so many conditions on the guy. It's really fun with some of the traits, especially like the interrupt trait that puts extra conditions.
Interrupt.
Yeah. Well, there's two interrupt traits.
Yes, there are.
You can if you run both of those and you interrupt a guy, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah, it's really good.
This is the hammer skill. This one's really fun. It doesn't stun anymore, but it creates these shockwaves that kind of cascade out in 5 directions, and each of those cascades is a knockback. It can only knock back a target once.
I'm gonna need the moose back in here.
Yep. I really should have done this with the moose.
Really?
But it's a great,
like 18 moose.
Yeah, but it's a great clear out move. Each of the attacks are similar to the torch skill, but not exactly. I don't remember if this one inflicts burn or not. It doesn't look like it does in this iteration. One of the earlier iterations, I believe, did. But yeah, this is mainly just a really strong displacement tool. You can displace a bunch of guys with this one. It does pretty good damage. Each of the cascades can hit, even if they don't all knock back.
Good Lord. I just not getting tired of watching that.
This next one is the axe attack. This is Decapitate.
This is mine. I love it.
It's very similar to Eviscerate. It does a little less damage, but after it hits the initial target, it will shockwave behind that target and hit additional targets behind them.
What's better than one Eviscerate? 5.
Yeah. The secondary targets take less damage, but it's just really useful. Like you also gain back a little bit of adrenaline from doing it because the secondary attack is not associated with the first one. So it's really just generally good AoE attack to add to an axe. Axe doesn't have great AoE, but this really helps. Especially because normal Eviscerate's only one target. Still acts the same. Still leap finisher. You still get a lot of good. Basically, just a lot of good damage. Really good way to hit a lot of targets. This one's really good with the heal again because it does a lot of damage and it hits 5 targets. So it's good to try and use your heal, before activating these types of skills, especially because they all, as you has mentioned, there's been a theme of a lot of these hit a lot of different targets.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So these are called Primal Burst. Basically, when you activate your Berserk mode, which is the F2, we can go to that clip if you want, by the way. Is there no
Primal Burst?
Oh yeah, I guess we were already. I guess with those, we were already in the.
We've gone through everything. You got excited and just went through everything.
Yeah, I went a little too fast. So
that's okay.
We did move a little too fast. I want to jump back really quick and explain how the F2 skill works. So the F2 skill is Berserk mode, and Berserk mode can only be activated after you've gained full 30 adrenaline.
Okay.
So until then, you act more or less like a regular warrior, and then it kind of.
It fits.
Thematically is kind of a build up to get you get angry and then you go berserk. While you're berserk mode lasts. Let me double check to make sure I got the time right because we've been adjusting this as we go through.
Yeah.
It lasts for 15 seconds, and it will replace basically when you activate it. This is in your F2 slot. So when you activate it, it will flip over your F1 slot to be all of those primal bursts that we've just described. Let's switch over real quick so I can just show you the tooltip for this.
Let's take a look at the game.
So this is Berserk mode. It also gains adrenaline. This is the interesting thing. This is something we haven't done before. The F1 modification is also a rage skill, so it also gives you adrenaline. So as soon as you activate it, you will get the adrenaline that you need for the first primal burst skill. So you're not really, like, we didn't want you to feel like, okay, I built up 30 adrenaline, now I'm going to go berserk, now I got to build up 10 more adrenaline.
Yep.
So basically it just gives you the 10 adrenaline, so you can immediately burst afterwards.
Gets you starting. Okay.
You can't deactivate it once it's active, so if you want your old burst back, you just kind of have to wait it out. Like, you don't. We didn't think it was really felt thematic. Like, oh, I'm really angry now, but I'm just going to stop being angry. Like,
Just take like a chill pill. Just okay, I feel better.
It also gives you an attack speed boost. We toned it down. I think someone data mined. I think that shaman got one of the earlier versions, but we've toned down the attack speed bonus a little bit because it was really good at 33%.
It turns out this isn't done.
Oh man, 33%.
Yeah, we toned it down to 10%. It does. I believe. I think it stacks with other attack speed boost. You'll notice it gives you quickness here. This is one of the traits we'll be talking about this in a minute. But it's just, let's see. And then, so that's pretty much how it works. Like, I like to open up with like a headbutt or something, just get me full adrenaline, and then immediately just jump into Berserk mode, and then be able to have access to all these cool burst skills. What Berserk does, I think, for the people who haven't read the article yet, is that when you're in Berserk mode, not only do you get like this attack speed bonus, you get all these special bursts. What it does is it actually reduces your adrenaline gauge to 1 gauge. I think I can show that real quick.
Awesome.
And the thing that it's down to 1 gauge, do the traits that go off of having multiple strikes of adrenaline, the multiple tiers, they all go to maximum, correct? Because it is 1 full bar.
Yeah, so it's treated. Yeah, basically you're still treated as like a level 3 burst.
Okay, yeah, because that was one of the things I know a lot of people had questions about. I had questions about until I tried it and played it. Yeah. So like, you know, if you have like the Berserker power or whatever it is, when you fire it off, you'll get that.
You'll get the max. Ability from it. So when you activate Berserk mode, you can see it changes your bar into this single bar. And the single bar only has 10 strikes of adrenaline total, so you can see it'll build up a lot faster than your regular adrenaline bar would, because there's only 10. Also, I think this is another thing we should mention, that Primal Burst have shorter cooldowns. A normal burst skill, I think, is an 8-second cooldown. A Primal Burst skill has a 5-second cooldown.
Oh my gosh!
Which means you can hit all 3. If you build up enough adrenaline,
yeah, if you build up enough adrenaline, you can fire like 3 of them off within one. Within one rotation. You can actually fire more off. We'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah.
There are a couple tools that we give you in the traits to let you fire off a few more of those. Okay. But the idea is that you can, while you're in this mode, you can activate a lot of burst. Like I find it a little ironic that like he's a sustained burst character, right?
Eventually, he's just going to implode and fall over.
Yeah.
So, well, why don't we look and see all of this put together? Because you got some fights down that you ran through. So let's take a look at those.
Yeah, so this is, again, like I said, like I like to start fights by just activating the torch shield and then jumping in so that now I've got the flame shield and things like that.
I want to edit that to make him say I like to start fights.
Yeah, I like to start fights. Kill people.
Yeah.
Oh, Wild Blow.
Wild Blow's fun. I think I messed up there, but he yanked me in, but got him down.
You're not the first character to die on Points of Interest. It's all good. It'd be weird if somebody didn't in these gameplay videos.
Leading off with Headbutt, again, this is what I do in this fight. It's really nice because I immediately start in Berserk mode, get that attack speed bonus. Just trying to stack burning on this guy right now. Again, trying to get. I think it's actually really nice to use the torch and get those extra finishers, get that fire aura. It's just very, very, very helpful. Here's playing with the longbow a little bit. As you can see, if you don't have a good way to build adrenaline, like in this case, like I haven't built up to Berserk mode yet. Like it can take a little while if you don't have a good method for building into it. And so like I think that's something you really need to think about when you're building your Berserker, is how do I want to get into Berserk mode? But you can see if he stands in that fire, it's just gonna burn him down.
Well said.
It's great. It's great. And you put it over the bodies, prevent them from rezzing. Like people don't want to stand in that.
Yeah, the NPCs like just forget it. Never mind.
He tries though. He puts the symbol down. One last ditch effort.
Wait, what was that finisher? I just want to point out that Roy uses the Rainbow Unicorn finisher, so he's kind of
He said
making your finisher not look so great.
I think I hadn't set this character's finisher yet at the time.
I'm just saying.
Yeah. But definitely, like, it's really nice to have that outrage skill so that you can, if you go in for that headbutt, you can immediately break the stun afterwards. And I think we're just looping back right now. So that's. Do you have any thoughts on that?
So if you have stability when you use headbutt, you will consume 1 stack of stability. So that's one way. That's one way to do it as well. Is you lead in with the stability, fire off headbutt, get the stun on them. You're fine, and you can just go immediately into damage. So that's one way to do it as well. Yeah. I've noticed is really good as well. But I have to say, like, Cleansing Ire, Berserker's Power, the fact that you can essentially fire off 3 of those guys. In a 15-second duration means you have lots of Condi Cleanse, lots of sustain, and just keeping up that 20% extra damage is huge when you're in that, right? Because you got the attack speed boost, you get the Berserker's Power, essentially firing off every time. You're doing massive AoEs, burning, all those things. Like, it's just great. Like, that makes it good. Because one thing I was worried about, and I'm sure a lot of the community was that you only get 1 strike of adrenaline each time, and then you only get that 1 stack of the Berserker's Power. But it's really good. It's really good that you don't. And then definitely having the Cleansing Ire props.
Yeah, we did reduce the damage. They don't do as much damage as level 3s.
Sure.
Yeah,
that makes sense.
Pretty crazy if some of them did, especially given the areas that they're hitting now. And we'll continue adjusting like the number of targets, the areas, just to make sure that that's still within acceptable parameters.
And the best part is that if you want, you don't have to go into Berserk mode. You can just use your regular burst.
Yeah, you can still use your regular burst. Like say, if you're really in trouble and you just need to use that Cleansing Ire, maybe you only have 2 bars of adrenaline.
Yeah.
You just gotta get those conditions off. You're gonna die. You can just use your regular burst before that. You don't have to wait.
Yep.
We didn't want to just like lock you out. And say, okay, if you don't have 30 adrenaline, you can't do anything.
Well, you can't have everything.
Yes, we can.
You can have a lot of things.
We can have a lot of things.
But you can have a lot of things.
All right, let's look at the traits. Speaking of things you have.
Let's jump into the traits real quick.
Look at that. Look at that Norn. What a beast.
This is the helmet. This is the helmet that you can get.
I love the horns.
As a berserker. So we'll jump into the traits real quick. So this is new. This is just your torch proficiency trait. This one just gets unlocked as you're going through.
Oh, nice.
Oh, sorry, is the window not?
I also just like the
like
image
our
there.
heads are blocking it.
He's just like, come at me, bro. I love that image.
The image is great. I love it. So the first trait is called Primal Rage. This one gives you access to all of your primal bursts. You can see them all here. We didn't actually go over the underwater burst. There's just. Let me see if I can jump to them real quick so you guys can see them. I jumped past it. Sorry.
Man.
It's tough. Decapitate, Arcing Sear, Rupturing Smash, Burning Shackles. This is the harpoon gun one. It adds a little bit to the regular harpoon gun attack, in that it adds Immobilize and Burning. I've got the piercing trait on. It doesn't normally pierce, but you can get it to pierce if you take the trait. And then the second one is, I think it's alphabetical.
Was it Gunflame?
No. Gunflame was the rifle.
Oh, okay. What an amazing name. Gunflame.
They all are.
Here you go, Wild World.
So sounds like a Char's last name, by the way.
It's my Char's last name, actually.
See?
Well played.
It's actually my Char's last name.
I told you.
A little bit of personal interest there, I guess. Let's see. The spear skill is called Wild Whirl. It's a little different from the regular Whirl. It inflicts burning, and instead of stunning foes, it pulls them in, so you can actually just group up a bunch of guys with that.
That's cool. And use the 5 skill and just rickroll.
Yep, and you can this also gives you access to Berserk and Torch. This is your standard first tier. The second tier skill minor is called Always Angry. It's kind of like Opening Strike for warriors. Like Opening Strike for rangers gives you a lot of extra vulnerability and damage on your first strike. Always Angry gives you a bunch of extra adrenaline. So your first attack when entering combat gives you 10 adrenaline. This recharges as soon as you exit combat. So basically, it's another way to just help you get into that Berserk mindset, get to that. Like you don't have to use like headbutt and things like that necessarily, because your first attack's going to get you a bunch. If you have warriors have a lot of other tools to gain adrenaline very quickly. So this is another option basically. And the last one, this one is called third is called Fatal Frenzy. It gives you quickness as soon as you activate Berserk mode, and it's a very short duration quickness, but it's really good for getting that first primal burst off. You just immediately enter it, then fire it off 50% faster. It gives you a really strong burst of aggression as soon as you activate Berserk mode.
Also great for stumps.
Yes, you can also use this. Berserk mode, by the way, is an instant cast skill. I forgot to mention this earlier, but it's instant cast. You can activate it as long as you have the adrenaline. You can do it whenever you want.
Okay.
So let's go over the adept traits. So the first adept trait is called Smash Brawler. This is one of the traits I talked about earlier. If you kill a foe, it reduces the recharge of all your primal burst skills by 5 seconds. If you recall, they have a 5-second recharge. So this is how you can get some really fun resets. This is a little more of a PvE thing because you're not going to be killing guys as often in PvP.
Sure.
You can actually, if you can get your adrenaline maintained, this will help you overcome that limitation of the normal recharge. I should also add that if you don't take this, you can still actually reduce the recharge of your primal burst skills by taking the
Burst Mastery.
Discipline line.
Yeah, the discipline and go to Burst Mastery.
Yeah. So you can still reduce the recharge of your primal burst skills without having to dip into this if you don't want to. But this is just a kind of a fun option. If you're killing a bunch of guys, you can just keep bursting back to back, get a lot of adrenaline. Next one is called Last Blaze. This causes your rage skills to set people on fire when you activate them. This is one of my favorite ones because as we mentioned, Berserk is also a rage skill. You can go and headbutt, set them on fire, then you can activate Berserk, set them on fire again.
Everything is on fire all the time.
Everything is always on fire with Berserker. Things are going to be on fire a lot. Like I said, I really like that one because it just adds a lot of extra burning. I mentioned in the article that I think the blog post that there are 3 separate lines. This first tier line is kind of all about kind of like going wild, getting a lot of guys around you, just beating the crap out of them. The second line is more of is kind of focused around burning and condition damage. If you want to play a condition damage Berserker, you really want to take this middle line. The last one is a little more about survivability. I think one of the things that one of the thematics of Berserker that we were also going for was this kind of idea of you're so angry you can't die kind of thing. You can still die as a Berserker.
I'm in.
These make it harder to die.
So let me just please emphasize that you're not saying the warrior actually can't die.
No.
Okay. Just to be very, very clear.
We did actually play around with that idea really early on in development.
Come on.
I was totally fine with it. I just want to point that out to the community. I was totally fine with that.
Yeah. At one point during development, he couldn't die while he was berserked, and that was a little too strong.
Totally fine.
Just a little bit. So the third adept is called Savage Instinct. What this does is activating your Berserk mode breaks stuns and removes a condition. Again, Berserk mode is instance. You can also use this one. If you activate this one, you headbutt in, then activate Berserk. You can use that to break the stun too.
Yep.
Again, this is more of a survival-based skill. It's for just keeping yourself alive if you happen to be able to go Berserk. Next of the masters, the first one is called Blood Reaction. This is just kind of a nice little stat boost for your precision and ferocity. You gain a percentage of ferocity based on your precision, and then if you are berserking, that amount is doubled. So you can get a lot of crit chance. This is again, berserkers are really. This is really good with that. Was that burst precision?
Oh yeah.
Gives you 100% crit. This is really good with burst precision. Love this one because you're gonna get those crits, and it's just gonna blow out because you got a bunch of extra ferocity on top of that.
And the quickness.
Yeah, and the quickness. The next one is the fire-based one. This is called Heat the Soul, and this is your torch trait. It gives you plus 150 condition damage, just kind of emphasize that whole condition damage roll, and also just reduces the recharge of torches. This one, we didn't want to go too crazy with some of the Berserker traits. I know that we went a little crazy on some of the other ones, but we do realize that warriors, tend to be a little more straightforward. We didn't want to go. I think some of the earlier iterations were a little crazy, and then we toned those down because we knew that the warriors thematically aren't as complex. I think they don't have these conditions that are oh, and then this, if this or that. Warriors just give me the condition.
I hit
recharge.
people in face, damage, burning. I'm in.
So the next minor is called Dead or Alive. This one, if you are berserking and you take fatal damage, we did try to keep that same thematic. It will prevent the death and heal you for a flat amount plus an amount based on the amount of adrenaline you've accrued at that point.
Oh, interesting.
So it'll basically it's still a penalty. You would have died, so it drains all your adrenaline and ends berserk mode. Yeah, if you would die while berserking, it basically prematurely ends berserk mode. This is pretty much the only way to end berserk mode early.
Okay.
Is to die. So it basically will heal you for a flat amount, and then it will heal you for an additional amount based on how much adrenaline you accrue. So if you accrue full adrenaline, it's like a 4,000 hit point, 4,000, 5,000 hit point heal. It's a really good heal.
Yeah.
But again, you can only activate it in Berserk. This is pretty good. It saved my life a couple times when we were testing this one. On to the Grandmasters. The first Grandmaster is called Bloody Roar, and what this does is actually let me just equip this one because it's got a cool effect when you turn it on. So I want to show that.
Oh, okay.
So when you activate this one, it actually changes the way Berserk looks. It actually summons these really cool, like kind of magma rocks when you activate Berserk mode. Like I just like that effect. And what it will do is it will taunt foes and bleed them the rocks. It's similar to that the weapon swap that does that. The Geomancer thing.
Yep.
And so it will bleed foes. It's it's beneficial for condition damage builds, but it's more really about the taunt. It'll taunt foes, and if they're nearby foes will be taunted for longer and will bleed for longer. Basically, this is again a proximity-based thing. You really want to get into a large group before you activate this one.
And then like, come here, let me throw rocks at you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's great. You do this, then you like punch the rock at them to inflict more bleeding. You can stack a lot of bleeding. Like he's very good at the Berserkers are pretty good at stacking bleeding in addition to burning, so they can play that condition damage build. Next one is King of Fires. This one, if you want to be the King of Fires,
yes,
and the King of Burning, this is one you take. It'll increase your burning duration, and anytime you critically hit a burning foe, it will actually spread the burning to nearby foes. It's got a short internal cooldown, so you can't just do it forever. You'll need to you really do want to invest a little bit in condition damage if you're going to run this, and a little bit in condition duration because of the way the cooldown's set up. We want you to actually we do actually want you to invest in this, but
you keep saying a little bit, and I keep thinking
a lot
like a lot
of it.
Yeah,
it's because I'm looking at this going, I'm going to throw everything I have at condition damage and burn the world.
Yeah, this is kind of your burn the world trait. That's why you're the king. You're the King of Fires.
King of Fires. Okay.
Right, so the last one here is Eternal Champion. Eternal Champion is kind of, again, it's a survival skill. This is based around Berserk one. While you're in Berserk, you'll get pulsing stability. I think it's every couple seconds you get stability. But in addition to that, whenever you break a stun, you'll also gain stability. So I mentioned before, this works really well, again, with the Savage Instinct trait that breaks stuns. So if you break the stun, you actually get extra stability whenever you stun. So if it makes it harder for you to be re-stunned. So basically, if someone crowd controls you, you break the stun. It's really good with Outrage because it's every 10 seconds I get an extra stack of stability.
All the stun breakers ever.
Yeah. And it makes it harder for him to be stun break. We did want to, like this bottom line really focuses on that whole, like, the unstoppable Berserker as opposed to the on fire Berserker or the, massive crit Berserker. So these kind of, again, fall into those three themes.
I have to say, something I really love about your design in particular is how you go with the themes. I like that quite a lot with the Reaper.
Yeah, it kind of came about with the Reaper, and I was like, oh, well, this is fun. Let's just carry this.
Yeah, let's keep doing this. I liked that.
All right, and so that's the traits.
Okay, what do you think?
First,
are you all right? Do you need to lie down?
First, I have been testing this. I have a few builds that I have. One, the Burn the World trait is amazing. With that, like one of the builds I run is sword, torch, longbow, and that's more my PvE build. And it's all about more of my like dungeony, big boss, like world boss style guys because they have big hitboxes.
Right.
So like everything's just multiple stacks, as well as like having tons of burning, which is great, right? And then you can go like phallic strength as well on top of that to buff all my allies. So I'm constantly like giving might to everybody. There's this trait that makes it so when I get fury, I also get condition damage. So I have like for great justice on my bar, so I'm essentially doubling that phallic strength to give 6 to everybody, as well as giving everybody more condition damage, giving myself condition damage. And you just do a ton of AoE, a ton of burning, a ton of damage, but it's not like super high, like extreme DPS right up front. It's more of a sustained burning DPS build, which is great. As well as like when you go into sword, you can flurry more burning, all that stuff. It's great. It's just really good. And then like you can go full ham mode, which is you pretty much can run almost the same build, which is like the hammer greatsword. Go almost that whole top line, and it just makes it so you do when you go into Berserk, like when PvP I would go into Berserk mode, immediately get a quick stomp off, right with that, or like displace a body if someone's about to res him with the wild blow. And all these other things. It's just there's a lot of builds there with that. Just being able to have those extra crit chances, especially when you go into Berserk mode and getting that extra 14% or whatever crit damage or ferocity. It's super good. You go and you get a down body. You get like a guy you CC them with wild blow, and you immediately go into 100 blades, Berserk mode 100 blades with the quickness. I mean, you take someone down. They have to blow cooldowns immediately, and you've really not blown anything because 20-second cooldown on an elite skill is really fast. It's super fast. So. I mean, there's that build. The other build I really liked was the Eviscerate kind of hybrid burn build. With Eviscerate, you take that and Torch to get, like you said, you have the Axe Throw for that, you have the Whirl finisher, you have the Elite finisher.
Right.
Plus you have all the AoE when you go into Berserk mode, as well as you can easily take, I was taking Rifle with that build as well, to get the extreme piercing. That's kind of like that World v. Worldy build. You can also run Greatsword with that as well. But
being really good in World v. World.
The long, the rifle in World v. World is just amazing. You go the piercing trait like you said. You see a Zerg, you fire it off, and you just see numbers pop up until something dies.
Nice. All right. Well, thank you so much for showing this off.
Okay.
And you're still working on it.
Yeah, we're still doing some tuning. The version you're seeing here will probably be the version that you see in the next BWE, though. We iterate across different branches. So like some stuff, like we finalize stuff and then we it goes through creation. That's just I don't want to bore you guys with the process here. But basically the stuff here is more or less locked in, I think, for the next Beta Weekend event.
Okay.
But we're still changing stuff like on top of that already.
So next Beta Weekend, give it a spin.
Yeah. Give it a spin. Let us know what you think.
Let us know. Yeah.
See what kind of crazy builds you guys come up with. I'm always excited about that. People always come up with builds that I don't expect.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, totally.
I'm playing some PvP with this build.
We've been talking about this for a while. Once you guys give this a try, get your hands on the Berserker, play with it next Beta Weekend event, and let us know what you think, because we keep pointing this out and we keep doing this. We're listening to the feedback and we want it, and we want to help. We want that to help iterate on this as we go forward.